Hey, what's up, naughty community? Welcome back to my naughty hobby with Amber for another easy to follow crochet tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to create this sunburst square, this simple 4 round square. Here's how the reverse side looks. And then this is the right side using the popcorn stitches. We've got some nice texture to these squares, and I just think they turn out so beautifully. So I found this diagram that I kind of changed the way that it was worked. So if you choose to go off of just the diagram, which is posted on my Facebook page, my written directions are slightly different because I did change the pattern just a little bit. But if you were to follow the diagram directions, you're going to get the same square. I just found a couple little things that happen to work better for me. But if you're more comfortable like with these chains at the beginning of your rounds, then by all means, do it that way. So if you haven't had a chance to grab the diagram and the written instructions, again, that's on my Facebook page. And for this tutorial, I will be using a D-size hook or 3.25 millimeter, and also some #1 super fine cotton acrylic blend. But you can use whatever size hook and fiber you have available to you. Let's go ahead and bring the camera down just a little bit. We'll put one kind of in view so we can keep our mind on how it should be looking. Let's take a look at our pattern real quick. For round 1, it says magic ring, chain 1, and then we're going to do SDC, stands for standing double crochet, which is just an alternative to those chains at the beginning of your round. And then we're going to do a total of 15 double crochets into the center for a total of 16 double crochets, because our standing double crochet counts as our first stitch. So we're going to create a magic ring and chain 1. And the chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch or anything. I just found that this helps stabilize our magic ring. So don't pull it too tight. We want to be able to work that tail through and pull our ring closed at the end. To do a standing double crochet, we'll go under both loops, yarn over and draw up a loop. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2. Insert your hook into the front leg of that single crochet you just created and draw up a loop. You'll have 2 on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through remaining 2 to complete your standing double crochet. From here, we're just going to do 15 more double crochets, making sure to go over both our tail and the ring. If you don't make it over both loops, then you could drop your stitches and you won't end up creating a ring. One way that I ensure that this doesn't happen is I pinch together the tail and the ring to make them basically like one piece. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's 8, so we're halfway there. That's 10. This is 13. 15 and 16. Now count is very important in this pattern because we will be making corners later, so you want to make sure that you do have 16 stitches. I always count by 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So find your tail to your magic ring. And we're just going to go ahead and pull that closed. And then going under the top of our first stitch made, we're going to do a slip stitch right into that standing double crochet. And we're going to do chain 1. That doesn't count as a stitch, just gives us a little bit of height to reach these cluster stitches that we're going to be doing. So for round 2, we have a chain 1. I accidentally wrote puff stitch in there. It's supposed to be cluster stitch in our standing double crochet. Then we're going to do a chain 1 and puff stitch, or these cluster stitches, in each stitch around. So if we look at our diagram, there's that chain 1. We're going to work a cluster into our first stitch, and then there will be a chain in between each of our stitches. These dots here signify a slip stitch. And I work my cluster stitches a little bit different than, I guess, what would be considered a traditional way. If you know a different way and prefer that, then again, by all means, do what you're comfortable with. This is how I work mine. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that standing double crochet, and drop a loop. And draw up a loop. Okay, we'll yarn over again, insert your hook into that same stitch and drop another loop. Do that one more time, yarn over, insert your hook, drop a loop. Now we're going to yarn over and we'll pull through all of our loops except for the very last one. So you'll have 2 on your hook, yarn over and complete your stitch. That's how my clusters look. You'll chain 1, and we're going to do that in every stitch. Coming up to the end of our round here. Just got a couple more these cluster stitches to do. Don't forget your chain 1. And I like to do this very last chain 1 a little bit looser, because instead of slip stitching into the top of our first stitch, I place my slip stitch right at the top here. There's this one little loop where all of our cluster loops are coming out of. Let's see if I got that right. I did. Okay. And we're going to slip stitch into that space. And the reason why I do that, as you can maybe see when we hold it back here, is because it isn't quite as noticeable where the join is, where when you join to the top of that stitch, I don't know, it doesn't look terrible, it just adds a little bit more bulk. So that's why I like to slip stitch behind, you know, that little loop that holds our cluster stitch. Starting on round 3, let's go ahead and look at the diagram first. We are not going to be working these chains that you see here, but in round 3 we'll work a standing double crochet, 4 double crochets into that chain 1 space to create a popcorn stitch, chain 2, and work a popcorn into each of the chain 1 spaces around. So we'll do a popcorn and chain 2. So we'll work another standing double crochet where you pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, insert your hook into the leg, that front leg, drop another loop. Essentially you're just making 2 double crochets, one stacked right onto the first. Now we'll work 4 double crochets into this same space. For a total of 5 double crochets. And then to complete the popcorn stitch, I pull a long loop, insert your hook into the top of that standing double crochet, grab onto the long loop, and then pull it through the top loops of the standing double crochet. We're going to chain 2 between each of those. So work 5 double crochets. Insert your hook into the very first double crochet that you made. Grab onto that loop, and I like to kind of pull it down, make it a little bit tight, because I found that when I do that, it causes these popcorn stitches to puff up a little bit more. So after you've tightened it down, 2 chains, and then again start with another 5 double crochets into our chain 1 spaces. To create the popcorn. And I'm going to go ahead and work the rest of them around just so the length of the tutorial doesn't get super long. So keep working the 5 double crochets. Let's work one more group together before I let you work on your own. 5 double crochets. There's 5. I pull a long loop out, insert my hook under both loops of the first double crochet made, and then pull it through those loops. Tighten down, chain 2. So work that into every chain 1 space around, and I will meet you back at the join. All right, I'm at my last popcorn stitch of round 3. Don't forget your very last space. For some reason, I'm always missing this one. So let's work this last one together. There's 4 and 5. Again, we'll chain 2, but then where you're going to join, I always use this loop right here, this one here. We're just going to do a slip stitch. Oops. Come on now. We're basically going to slip stitch over to that chain 2 space, but we want to be in the middle of it. So we'll do a slip stitch into the chain and into the second chain as well. And what this does is it positions us. Let me show you on the diagram why I do that. So for round 4 here, and I put working into chain 2 spaces, we're going to do a standing treble, 2 trebles, and then we'll start the actual pattern because we're starting on one of the corners, but we won't complete that corner until we come all the way around. So here, this is where we were at here. We slip stitched to this middle, to the second chain there to place our standing double crochet in the correct space for it to create this corner. So we'll be working those trebles and then 3, always with groups of 3 stitches. We'll be working 3 doubles, 3 half doubles, 3 doubles, 3 trebles, 2 chain 3 trebles into the chain 2 spaces. So let's get started on this final round. We've slip stitched to the center of that chain 2 space, and we're going to work a standing treble crochet. So working into our chain 2 space, just like we built the standing double crochets, we'll put 1 additional single crochet to reach the height requirements of a treble. So now we still have space to work over. It's a little bit, thicker, but we're going to work stitches right over that and you won't be able to tell once we're finished. From here, we're going to place 2 more trebles into that same space. And then in between the popcorns is where we will be working. So work the pattern of 3 double crochets. 3 half double crochets, three double crochets, and now we will complete our first whole corner. So we're going to work 3 treble stitches, chain 2, and 3 treble stitches. I ordered food and it just got here, so I'm going to pause real quick. Sorry about the pause. Okay, let's work 2 more trebles into that same space. So that is our first official corner. From here, we're gonna just work the pattern that we just worked up to that corner 3 more times, or well, at least 2 more times. So this is the corner we just completed. You're gonna work again 3 double crochets, 3 half double crochets, 3 double crochets, and then those 6, total of 6 trebles for the corners. Let's work up 1 more edge together, and then I will let you complete this round on your own. So 3 double crochets, 3 half doubles, 3 doubles, and then another corner. All right, continue to work around, and I will meet you back right before you complete your last corner. All right, I just finished up my last group of 3 double crochets. We're ready to complete our last corner. So let's work those 3 trebles over that kind of clustered up chain that we have there. There's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, kind of screwed up on that one. I worked that first loop too loose of my last treble stitch. So we've got our 3 trebles. You'll chain 2 and just slip stitch into the top of that standing treble crochet. There we go. Go ahead and fasten off. I like to leave about a, I don't know, 4 to 5 inch long tail to weave my ends in. Can just pull it through. One of my friends on my Facebook page, Sam, asked if I would show how I triple weave my ends in. This is a method I use for finishing my projects to ensure that my squares never ever fall apart. So the first thing I do is wherever, or the magic ring that we started, find your tail. Also be mindful of the way that your tail comes out of your stitches. Don't try to pull it this way because it'll kind of muck up your work. Hi, Soup. So pull your tail to close the hole. Soup, you're not coming up here. Go on. Go on. Now, I find that it's really important if you use a sharp needle, not a blunt end one that will actually go between your stitches. So we will start with that center, our magic ring, for weaving the ends in. So I found out, that the yarn naturally is coming out this way, so we want to follow the general direction of the stitches so we don't throw off the pattern. And when I say triple weave, what I mean is I'm going to go through these stitches a total of 3 times, making sure that I'm actually going through and not just behind stitches. So see how I went through that stitch there? And also, if you're working with multiple colors, make sure that you're weaving on the correct color. And I never pull too tight, but I can see that little loop right there? That's the tail that we're weaving in. So as I go back, this is my second pass, I'm just going to make it to where I catch a little piece of the same yarn that we're using to weave in. So pull through lightly, keep an eye on where this loop is. I can see it here. I've done this so many times that my eyes kind of trained for it. Can still see it's right here. So on our third pass, again, I'm going to go through the stitches. And since we've already gone through them, it's not absolutely vital that you get this last loop. It's just habit for me, to where I pull through. Never too tight though, because that can kind of cinch up your work and look funny. Making sure that when you weave your ends in, that it's on the back side of your work and not the front side where it's pretty and the design actually is. And then for this other little end, same type of concept here of the triple weaving. Let's bring this a little bit closer. So I go directly down through this knot, and I'm going to go through this stitch, and I'm going to get to this little line of stitches right here, and I'm going to go through these ones. Whoops, I didn't want to go that far. Because we're going down the length of one of the stitches, be mindful of how tight you pull this one as well. I did not mean to go through this one, but that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and do like this. When you use a sharp needle and you're actually going through stitches, you'll kind of see here why it becomes obvious that your stitches won't come out, because it gets kind of intertwined. So that was my first pass, and my next two passes won't quite go over like all the way up the length of that stitch, because I'm not trying to bring extra bulk where we're joining. So I went through these little stitches here, and I'm just gonna go through 2 more times, kind of keeping an eye on my last little loop there. And that is how I triple weave every single one of these squares here on the board has been triple weaved. Yay, I have another one to add. I'll bring in all of my squares. All of these guys have been triple weaved. Here's the one we just completed together. There's the back side. But I hope that clarified, Sam, if you're watching this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I absolutely love this square. You know, they're quick. So it's like one of those instant gratification squares where you can, if you're stressed crocheting, like I oftentimes do, this is a really good project. And I don't know, I'm excited to see what I make with these. I'd love to see what you make with them. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful Wednesday, that you're reminded that what you do matters. I think you're special. I love spending time with you, and I'll chat with you guys all real soon. Happy hooking, guys. Take care.